My name is Denis Villeneuve and I'm the director of Bladerunner 2049. I'm from the documentary world. I tried to make a short story. I did several documentaries for Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, CBC, the French part of it, for Radio-Canada. And then I worked at the National Film Board to make my first documentary there. And from there, my soul, I wanted to do fiction. Went from there to start to do fiction. I did a short with the producer, and then I did my first feature film this way. There's a famous producer in Montreal. His name is Roger Frappier, and he wanted to meet the generation of new filmmakers. And he decided to create a feature film made of 6 short films. Half of them would be directed by a female director, the other half by male director. And those short films will be linked together, made as a whole, and presented in the theater later, so as a whole feature film. I was one of the directors, and after that the movie was quite a nice little success at home. It went to Cannes, and so after that the producer offered me to produce my first feature. So it was like offered on a silver plate, I must say. I was the luckiest. Yeah. The thing is that I made a film. My 4th feature film was nominated for an Academy Award, and it's like my 3rd and 4th feature were traveled a lot around the world, and noticed by the film industry in Hollywood. And when I did my 4th one, went to an Academy Award. I received numerous offers to direct. At the time, I didn't necessarily want to go to Hollywood. I didn't want to direct silly sequels or things like that. It's just that it happened that I read a screenplay that was very strong, in my opinion, that has strong potential, and that was linked with some themes that I was exploring in my movies at home. They offered me a movie called Prisoners. And I decided that as a filmmaker that it would be a nice experience to work with artists from the United States, that are very strong artists. I took that opportunity as a want. Just I will do it once, and it turned out to be a fantastic experience. I was really moved by how Americans are dealing with filmmaking. I just felt in love with their ways of dealing with cinema and the artists and the craft, the amount of experience there, and I just what I thought would be a one time became my life. I know that my movies are usually quite immersive, and there's like a strong feeling of intimacy that you have to. They are constructed around a very precise point of view. The more I work with them, the more I feel comfortable, and I love working with actors, and the more I feel inspired. I'm trying, when I cast my actors, to, I hope, my big desire is to meet people that will inspire me, and it's not all, the actors are all different. I love when someone is an author himself, meaning that it will develop his very own point of view about the character, bring ideas on the set that will surprise me. I mean, I have always a very precise idea about what I want to do, but there's nothing more exciting for me than when someone creates chaos in front of the camera, and it's all going back to the years I was doing documentaries. I was always amazed how life organizes itself in front of the camera. From chaos becomes poetry, and this excitement of the spontaneity of life, I find it back with actors, and I'm trying to create environments on sets that will be that will allow those things to happen. I try to give them the space as much as possible, so they feel that they have the space to bring ideas. One day the screenplay of Blade Runner arrived in front of me because the producer had done a previous movie with me, Prisoners, and Alcon was looking for a director at the time. Ridley Scott was supposed to direct it, but his schedule was too busy. He has too many movies at the same time, so they were looking for a director. And at first, I was really destabilized and deeply curious and terrorized by the idea of reading the screenplay. I understood that because of the thematics, what the movie was dealing with, about memory, about identity, quest of identity. It had a link with my previous work, and it made sense that I could do this movie. I understand why they came to me, and I knew that technically I was able to do it. It's a movie I would have refused 10 years ago, no question, but one day I read it, I said, I can do it, I know how to do this. I love the first movie so much. It's a movie that was part of my cinematic education. I was like raised with Bladerunner. It's a movie that was by far one of my favorite movies of all time. So I said, I don't want someone else to fuck this up. I mean, I need to. Even it's like a suicidal mission, you know. It's like super risky. Everybody will hate me. I can be banned from the cinematic community from the rest of my life, but it's worth the risk. Artistically, it's such a big challenge, but it's such a beautiful one. It's crazy idea to do that. Maybe a very bad idea, but I was mesmerized by the story of the screenplay, and I said yes. There was a lot of female parts, strong female characters, not like anything I've read before. There were more female characters in the movie than there's a male protagonist, and that I thought was really faithful to the first movie that had the same kind of quality. There was hints of the melancholia of the first movie too that I thought was very important. They were there. There were the germs, the seeds for that. Sorry, the seeds for that melancholia were in the screenplay, and that reassured me. In order to be very spontaneous on set, you need to, for me, I need to be very prepared. And specifically with a movie of that scale, everything will be designed, everything will be created. So the crew doesn't go mad. You need to really be precise. So you need to storyboard everything. I deeply love storyboarding. Why? Because it allows me, in a very quiet environment with good coffee and no pressure at all, to dream about the movie alone, you know, to make the movie I wanted, the ideal movie, without bad weather, without producer on my back, without actors that don't want to say their lines. I can do the movie I want once on paper, and I deeply love that process. I'm alone with a storyboard artist and I draw every frame and I dream about it. I deeply love that moment. In my first movies, I thought that the storyboards were castrative and that they were like something that will be in your way as your film, but it's total opposite. I deeply love them now. And it doesn't mean that I will shoot the storyboards on set. Sometimes Roger Deakins and we just throw them and say, okay, let's do something different, because on the day there's a better idea on set. But most of the time, it's a very powerful tool also to communicate for the crew. So yes, I storyboard everything. When you storyboard also, it's a way to transform the movie into images, and I always, it's a way to rewrite the screenplay in the way I want it. So it's a very, very important moment in the film process. I'm very old-fashioned. I don't like to work with several cameras. I work with one single camera. I like to commit to one point of view, and I don't like to make any compromise. When you work with several cameras in the obligation to make compromise with lenses and with lighting, and that I can't. So I like to commit to one thing and to just embrace that and fully commit. And so I will say that technically, no matter the scale of the movie, I work with one camera. I try to adjust the language to each story, what the story will need. I must say that for 3 of my 4 last movies, I have the same kind of language, cinematic language. There's a kind of research of trying to be as simple and then monolithic as possible, that I deeply love, and I'm hypnotized by this approach. I deeply love it. And right now I feel the urge to do something different, but in the past 4 or 5 movies, I was quite similar cinematic approach in some ways. Yeah, I would say. I wanted to make a feature film before 30 years old. I was obsessed with this idea, and it was not a good thing. I should have take more my time for the first one. I didn't have to hurry that much. Take more my time, live a little, read more books. That's what I would say.